Hi, it's Parmdeep Videsha here and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to be talking about raising investor finance, and it's a very important topic and it's something I really wanted to share some ideas on. We've done lots of deals with investors over the years, we've been investors ourselves. I really like working with investors because it means I tie up less of my own capital and it's a lot of fun and you can meet lots of interesting people and make a lot of money for both parties along the way. Now the key thing here that I've learned over a long period of time, because I've been working with investors since 2001, is have a plan. Not just any old plan, not just a random business plan because you want to try and impress investors, but actually think about a plan that fits your competencies. So in our case, our plan when we're working with investors at the current time is we have a letting agency here. We're managing 120 properties at the moment. We're based in Leicester. We have certain competencies. For example, we have a management infrastructure. We have good knowledge of Leicester in terms of sourcing deals, in terms of managing deals, in terms of getting builders on board and that sort of thing. We know various surveyors and architects and the right kinds of people. We have good design partners. So we've gone into building to rent because the kind of smaller properties that most other people buy, there's too many people chasing them, and so we've decided to go between 500,000 to 2.5 million type of range because they're too big for the small investor and too small for the very big developers. And we've brought together all our different skill sets to say, right, we're going to go and find sites we can build on in the right sort of way, maybe enhance the planning along the way, get a really good builder to do the whole thing, and then we'll refinance that property and own it jointly with the investor, and we'll continue to manage it through our agency. Now, you can see how that fits kind of some competencies that we have. Your plan will be different because you're different, your experiences are different, your contacts are different, your location's different. So think very carefully about what you bring to the table. I mean, it can be as simple as you're going to focus on one particular area and you're going to focus on one kind of property. It could be your focus is going to be on buying shops with flats above, and your strategy is going to be all about understanding the commercial property market, enhancing the commercial aspect, so in a way that it's refurbed to the kind of level that maybe a blue chip would want because it's the right kind of size and fit out, or well, they fit it out, but maybe it's more about the size and the location. And the upstairs, you've figured out how to convert that into micro apartments or something like this, and that's your niche, and that's it, and your plan is based around just following that. So if you don't have a plan, you're going to struggle to get investors. So there's no point in me telling you how to go and find investors without that. So think very carefully about that, and if you're not sure about the plan, I'm going to suggest an option for you to bring your plan to us and we'll have a look at it in a sec. So actually, just on that, local knowledge is very important in property, so I would suggest focusing on an area. That does help a lot. Okay, but so once you're clear and focused, one of the things that I did in the very early days was I went to angel investor meetings. So if you go to the British Business Angels Association, I think it's called, you'll find a whole bunch of events for business angels, people who want to invest in companies. And I just turned up as a business angel. They don't charge you for a lot of these events. They don't even qualify you really, well they didn't then. I don't think that many of them do now. And you can just turn up as someone interested in investing in whatever companies they're looking at. And you just sit there, you have a nice lunch, meet some interesting people, and it's through those meetings that you get to meet people who've got funds, because a lot of them are there for that purpose. Many of the ones I met had sold a business. They'd sold a business, they were bored, they had money, they wanted to continue being involved in the business environment, but didn't want to start another company, so they just invested in other people's companies. And it was a great way to meet people who funded my initial property projects. So nowadays you've got crowdfunding and peer-to-peer. Now what a lot of people don't understand about those methods is it's all about the pitch, because that's the bit that people will engage with to decide if they want to know more about your project. And the pitch often is a video. So just like I'm recording a video here, you need to think about production skills, you need to think about, sounds really random, but actually understanding how to tell a good story, because that's what you're doing. It's not so much about the facts and figures, they are useful, but people will want to know about you, your team, or your experience, your life, what brings you here, what's your idea, and putting that across in a way that makes sense for people in a very short space of time, because you've got a matter of only a few minutes. So I'd recommend looking at Kickstarter and some of the other big funding platforms, and look at videos that have raised a lot more money than the people requested, and watch those videos very carefully and look at the music, the kind of post-production type of stuff that goes into these videos, because that is the key. And if you don't get that right, then people are not really going to understand what you're trying to do and what your idea is all about, and you won't raise the money you're looking for. So I know it's a bit of an odd thing to say, but it's very, very important to get that video right. So spend a bit of money on that, and you'll find your results will be a lot better. Okay, so the next thing I'd say is start by go to some investor events. So if you go to property networking events, you can go to the angel investor meetings I suggested. Just go to any events that might attract people interested in business. But the key is the more sophisticated the investor, the more return they'll want. So if you want an investor who's already investing in property, or they're a property developer, they're not going to lend into your projects at 6%, because they're getting 15%, 20% investing in their own business. So for them to go and take capital that has an opportunity cost of, say, 20% to them, and go and put it and have it tied up in your project, they're not going to tie it up for 6%. So you've got to understand, if you're going to go to places where you have sophisticated people, they're going to want high returns. So make sure that if you are going to go that way, your projects can support that. If it can't, then you need to go and look for people with whose capital isn't so valuable to them. Maybe they're retired, for example, and their money's just sitting in the bank. So then in that case, you might go and talk to IFAs, you might go and talk to accountants, solicitors, friends and family, people you know. That's the best way to find people with what I call passive capital, money that's just not really working very much for them, so that their comparison is not 20% in their business, their comparison is 0.5% in the bank. You're offering them 6%, well, that's 12 times more than getting in the bank. That seems quite a good deal. Okay, so when you go to property networking events, this is something that a lot of people don't do very well, is first of all have a plan, and second of all, once you have your plan, go and approach people. Because you've got to remember, there are people in that room, in many property networking events. I've spoken to maybe up to 15,000 different people at events since 2003. And so I've been at the front in most of the events I've been to. I get very few people approaching me with a good plan. Now, I've got funds I want to invest. I'd love to hear a good plan, because if somebody came to me with a good plan and said, here's something I want to do, can I have some money? I'd be very happy to back that plan, because that money of mine, I've got some spare cash, could then be put to work and could grow, and I wouldn't have to do any work. I'd love to hear about that. But you don't get many people approaching you with that, because they just don't think to build a plan and approach people. So don't be shy, because people like me, people who are investors, would love to know more about a good plan. And if it's not for me, I'd recommend it, because if it is a good idea, I would think about the people I know who it could be good for, and I'd probably recommend you to them. So don't be shy. Go there, talk to people, hand them a one-page summary of what you're trying to do, and believe it or not, very quickly you'll find people who want to back you. Final piece of advice: go and do a small deal. Don't be too fixated on doing a huge deal. You'll get there eventually, but you have to start small, because you have to build trust with your investors. So once you find people and they're interested, say that somebody has 100,000 to invest, you don't go and try and find a project that you can put 100,000 into. You try and put 20,000, 30,000. Maybe you get 4 or 5 of those sorts of investors, and you can then fund a reasonable deal. And the thing I've learned is people want to invest small to get to know you a little bit, and then they kind of see how things work. And the second or third time around, people are chasing you to give you the money, because they trust you and they know how you work. So if you've got a business plan, or if you've got a very simple sort of summary of your idea, bring it with you when you come to see us in Leicester. There's a link below the video, and because you've been to a networking event I've spoken to, you can come along to that, and you can book the day that you'd like to come. We do occasional investor meets here at the office. This is Tranquility Homes, our letting agency in Leicester, and you can come along and you can meet us, see how we do things, happy to look at your plan and give you some advice. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.